Alright, quick reminder, I know I say this all the time, but it's one of the most important things. On any, literally any and every single array, there has to be exactly 2 spaces. You have to have exactly 2, right? There have to be. You can't have more than 2, okay? So if it's like this, that's not going to work, right? If there's, an extra space in between the alert and the question, that's not going to work. Anytime there's any extra spaces, all this, it won't work. And I'll tell you why, right? So here's the idea. Later on, what I do is I go into this lovely little VSC over here. And I turn every single array into one single continuous row. So you can see here, this is, W16 or whatever. If I will go up to like W11 is over here, the one we're working on. And you can see the end of it, right? So the end and the beginning. It's one singular line, just one line altogether. This thing, the way that I turn it into one single thing is I hit, find and replace. Drag that over here. And I replace _p with quote, comma, quote. What does that mean? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'll show you. Now what we have is one single continuous line, forever and ever, keeps going, okay, well, until the end of it. And every single element, so it defines the array, and then it says, okay, this array, as is defined, equals, and then it has these 2 brackets, so the one comes at the beginning, the other one comes at the end, down here, it has 2 brackets, and everything inside those 2 brackets is surrounded by quotes and separated by commas. So we've got quote, and then this whole thing on the inside, that's going to be one thing over here, all the way up to here. And then we have an ending quote, and then a comma, and then another quote to start number 2. Alright, so if I go back to lovely thing over here, what I can actually do, I can show you this thing, right? I can click on each individual element in the array. So right now I'm hovering on this one, and it has it identified one quote through the other quote. And then it's separated by a comma, it recognizes that as a separation. And then I can hover on this one, and it identifies this as one whole entire element, right? So the question and the alert, all one element together, alright? Next one, if I click on this one, there we go. Okay, I don't know why that one didn't do it, because there's maybe an issue in that one, so I'll have to double check. But, so if I click on all these, it will, like, identify the entire, element in the array. So, that's what we're doing. That's what I do later on when I put it inside the VSC. What you have to know then is that in order for that to work, you can't have these extra spaces, because if you have these extra spaces all over the place, then what happens? I go to replace everything. I do it. And, unfortunately, it replaced a thing here, but it's not continuous anymore. This has an extra line, so this starts on a different line. It's not continuous. This one, it starts on a different line, okay? So the line ends here, but this starts a new line. And that doesn't work. It's definitely not going to work. If I were to, for example, I can actually, like, show you this, right? If I try to copy and paste this into here, I'm going to make it a single line. What I do then is I'm going to, delete this whole thing. I paste it in here and it comes out all wrong. And it totally freaks out, right? Zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. Oh my gosh, it's going to break the whole entire thing. The whole thing totally loses its mind, which is very, very fun, but make it so that it doesn't do that, right? You cannot do it this way. If there are extra spaces, it is not just me being anal. Some things are, okay, and I know that. But in this case, it's not. Sometimes, the whole Times New Roman thing, I want that to be because I want that to be. But in this particular case, you cannot have these extra spaces. It will not work. It'll create issues. So, keep that in mind. Don't put any extra spaces. I can't say it enough times. What you will experience, okay, and just to give you an idea, is if you start making arrays and you put too many extra spaces, I'm just going to yell at you that there's too many extra spaces. I most of the time have to tell every single person like 17 times when they first start doing arrays, because you guys don't think that it matters, right? You're just looking at it and you're like, yeah, this looks fine. I can visually look at it fine. It looks fine. Not the point, alright? You've got to do it this way. You can't add extra spaces. It's not going to work. Don't add extra spaces. Please don't add extra spaces. The best way to find out, by the way, is just to like highlight stuff and you can see, right, okay, this is awesome. Like, it's got exactly the right number of spaces and it's totally fine. This is also why I'm really particular about the line spacing, because with the line spacing, If it's spaced out weird, like there's, 1.5 spaces between each line, it might look like 2 or look like 1 when it's not actually, and you need it to be exactly 1. So that's why I'm also really particular about the line spacing. And then sometimes also, so if there's like a random tab over here, that will also not work. It will also not get replaced correctly. So if you do highlight and you see this extra line, you're going to know that you need to go back in and get rid of that, right? Obviously, if you guys don't do it, it just creates more work for me. It's not going to actually break the system. I am very, particular about it, and obviously the entire system freaks out, so I know that I have to fix something. But don't create more work for me, pretty please, and I'll love you forever. Don't make more work for me, alright? So just don't put extra spaces. Do it this way. 1 space. Exactly 2 spaces, alright? 1, 2. That's it. Exactly 2 in between everything. I think I've said it like 20 times now, so hopefully we'll get it. If not, I'll just tell you guys 17 times when you start doing arrays. So, see you guys in class.